This is special edition of the Might have Mansion program on Player Profiler. Here with me today, the Smashup Boys. We've talked about Smashup Sports on the podcast. It's a very cool new fantasy platform. Certainly one of the fastest growing out there. Talked to these guys at the FF Expo. A lot of excitement around their app. A lot of people crowded around their display. Some interesting stuff they're doing. Super innovative. So let's talk fantasy apps, fellas.
Let's do it.
Okay. So let's just get started. How did Smashup start? What was the impetus of this idea for this new app?
Yeah, so my co-founder and I, Chris, we've known each other for 10, 15 years, and we've been playing fantasy together for a very long time. And I think over time, especially if you've played for a long time, every so often it kind of gets a little bit stale. It kind of gets a little bit, every year it feels like we're kind of doing the same thing. These are the players I like. Here's who I'm going to draft. Here's who I'm going to start. And that's more or less it. That's more or less all you can do. And over time, we were tinkering with, how can we give players more control, as kind of the manager of your fantasy team, how do we give you more control and kind of be able to do a little bit more with your team than just who can start, who you draft and kind of who you start. So we started playing around with adding power-ups, adding boosts to the game. It got really good kind of feedback. Everyone loved it. So we kept kind of adding more and more. Chris always likes to say that it's way more fun to win when you kind of like, this one fact about this guy, right? And you pick him up off of waivers and he goes off for, 40 points and you win that. Like, it's way more fun to win that way than to just have a dominant team and like steamroll everyone. And I really think that's true. People like playing fantasy because they're like, I like these players. I think I have this nugget of information that, is going to kind of take me to the top. And we're trying to figure out how to get more people to get that feeling, right? Get that feeling of knowing, oh, this guy's playing in really windy conditions. He's going to throw a lot of incompletes. How do I benefit off of that? This guy he's just going to get long bombs thrown his way. So he's not going to get many receptions, but every reception he gets is going to be 40 plus yards. How do I benefit off of that? And so we really focused around, and I guess you could almost call it taking player props in some ways and putting it into more kind of traditional fantasy so you can benefit. And that's really how we came up with the idea. How do we make fantasy a little bit more fun, give the users a little bit more control over their team, and have these fun power-ups, fun boosts to just, let you do more than just, who to draft and who to start.
Like, isn't TD Vulture one?
Oh yeah.
So TD
that's the Gus Edwards. That's the Gus Edwards special right there.
Yeah, Gus Edwards. But this year, we got Carson Steele, we got Braylon Allen, we got Ray Davis. There's a bunch of these guys that are going to be vulturing touchdowns from James Cook and Breece Hall and
don't say that. Don't say that about
Isaiah
Breece Hall.
Pacheco and. It's going to happen. I mean, they don't lie when they draft players. They don't lie when they sign players, and then they lie all the rest of the time.
Yeah.
But there's two times teams can't lie. They can't lie in free agency, and they can't lie in the draft. They can lie leading up to it.
Right.
They can lie in negotiations. They can lie in negotiations with agents and players and talking to teams about what they're going to do. But when they actually have to turn the cards in and call the commissioner's office and say, hey, we signed player X, that's the truth. So like Braylon Allen going to the Jets, that's not great. It's just not great. As much as we love Breece Hall and is so efficient, so great, would be amazing on a team that fully appreciated him. And wasn't drafting a workhorse back from Wisconsin. Just a weird draft pick that you need to be concerned about. So what's another card that one of these special power-ups? Give me another one.
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in here. One that I love is Speed Demon, which is a player getting, I believe it's 30 points if they get a 40-yard reception or more. There's
Jameson
those.
Williams,
There you go,
Chris
Jameson
Olave.
Williams. Yep. Tyreek
Okay.
Hill is a
Well, of
special for
course.
that every
Yeah.
week, right? So, and 30 points is a lot of points, right? Like that could swing a matchup for sure. But it's also a card that you spend a lot of your card budget, because in Smashup you'll have, it's DFS style lineups, so you're setting a lineup based on a budget for your players. But we also offer these power ups that you have a budget for as well. So a card like that can get you a lot of points, but it also costs you a lot of your card budget as well. So that's what I love. Like,
what's a card budget? How much?
12,000 for cards, and this card in particular, I believe it's 5,000 or 6,000. So it's almost half your card budget. Whereas some of the cards are 1,000, 3,000.
Is this per week,
2,500,
or for the whole season?
It is per week. Yep. So
okay.
Per week
So yeah,
basis.
It makes sense. Yeah. I would probably spend up on a couple premium cards every week.
It's worth the swing, right? And I think like as fantasy fanatics that we love to get into the nuances of the matchups, and if we think these certain big plays or these performances will happen. So you get to make that decision as a Smashup player and put these cards to emphasize what you think those outcomes will be. And so we think that makes it pretty cool.
So you sat down and decided to build this app. What was that process like?
I would say it was pretty intimidating to start. We really started with just kind of this idea on a napkin and kind of, getting it all going. But overall, I think it was a lot of fun. Like, we love playing fantasy. So building the app, making all these different decisions, coming up with card names, mechanics, graphics. It's just a lot of fun. It feels like, when you're doing this for your work and kind of really focused on it. I think there's certainly a lot of challenges to being a startup. I think we have more ideas than we can implement, but we have a really kind of great roadmap. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff coming up, both during the season and also next year as well. So we're kind of really excited with both our current product. We think it's really fun. There's a lot of things you can do, but it's just going to get better week after week.
So if you're in an office, right, and you usually have a commissioner, and it's kind of a pain in the ass sometimes for like an office commissioner or a home league commissioner to set up the app, set up the league, set up all the scoring, manage everybody, find the draft time, this and that. So this could be an alternative for people that feel like it's too much work to manage and administer the league. So instead, hey, we're going to move the league this year to Smashup. You all just go in and just pick a team based on their scoring. I don't have to mess with the settings. I just have to invite you all to this league. The 12 of us are going to be in this league together. We're all going to have this special budget in addition to selecting players every week, and we can have pretty similar lineups. But the idea we're going to have similar lineups, but then also pick similar cards is very unlikely. So that's a way to play fantasy without having have so much to manage as a commissioner.
Absolutely. And, for our league play, also if you have, right now, I think traditional leagues, also you're limited to like 12 people, 14 people, 16 people. In Smashup, you can have as many players in your league as you want. Yeah. If you have 50 people, 100, 1,000.
Well, how many people are in the Millie Maker?
I think we're at about. I think we're over 150 right now.
No. I'm just saying in the DK Millie Maker.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
How many teams are? That's
exactly
thousands of teams. Of course.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's no. If you're doing a salary cap based game weekly, there's no limit on how many people can be in a league. So you could have a whole company.
Exactly.
You could have a big company. Like you could have a whole big company-wide league. Like I don't know. I almost dated myself. I almost said General Motors.
Oh, hey, I know General Motors, but
I almost said General Motors. That is so bad. That is such a boomer reference. That's a very boomer reference. And I'm not even really. I'm a Gen Xer. I'm not, and I'm almost a millennial, but I'm actually a Gen Xer. But that's just a straight up boomer reference. And the reason why I had that in my head is because David Copperfield bought a penthouse apartment from a GM executive's son. And the GM executive's son was an artist in New York who loved plants and gardening. and he had the top 4 floors of this skyscraper in New York.
Wow.
And a lot of it was all glass, like a terrarium type of thing. And so he could watch the sunrise from his bed and also the sunset from his bed. Right. And to me, I'd be like, dude, in the middle of the summer, you're going to be waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, you idiot.
Baking,
Like, I hope it has some shades built in. And there was a pool and everything. And Copperfield abandoned it. And he forgot to drain the pool. So what ended up happening was after like 10 years of him not being in it, the pool started rusting parts of it, elements of it, and corroding and seeping through the whole building. Oh. And so he's like ruining.
Wow.
So they sued him. The residents of the building were like, this David Copperfield's the devil. He's killing us.
He
literally
can magically make it disappear
with mold and everything. Like it was like this cancerous apartment at the top of a building, and it was like leaching poison and carcinogens and every bad health consequences down on the residents below him. And then he showed up at one point and was like, "Hey, everybody, what's going on?" And they were like, "Oh, David Copperfield." He's like, "You want to tour this apartment?" And he had forgotten.
Wow.
Everything that he did. So he was in there, and then they were like, "Oh my God, this smells terrible. This is like the strongest mildew smell ever." And he was trying to show people like, magic memorabilia, and everyone was just disgusted and like ran out of there. And it was like, this guy is on another planet. And so you can just see people, and like now he lives on an island somewhere. He has a chain of islands. And if you have a chain of islands in the Caribbean, that's not a good thing. Now, people that have islands in the Caribbean, so there's been an incident where that forever it has a bad connotation.
Yeah.
But anyway, so now that because he made so much money in Vegas, he has this giant palace in Vegas, and then these islands, and he never came back to New York, just abandoned it, and lives this life of devil may care. And all these people in this building are miserable, and I'll show up once and like offer a tour and be the most disconnected weirdo anyone's ever met. So that's David Copperfield, man, handsome guy, and he still has this apartment. The thing is, though, he got it for a steal. He got it at like a low point with like New York real estate. He got like 4 floors, top of a building. 700. It was like 7.5 million.
Oh wow!
So he got, it was like listed for 30. Got him down. Finally, and it was crazy. And so he could sell this thing for, whatever it is, 5x, whatever it is, so 5x plus profit. But people that don't care about money are some of the most obnoxious people in the whole wide world. They're actually they're dangers to society. You have to at least care a little bit about other people or money or something. To have no cares about anybody or anything kind of puts you in a position where you could do some negligent stuff, and everybody hates your guts, even though you're a fantastic magician. I don't know what the fuck we were talking about, but
I know a lot about David Copperfield now.
Now you know a lot about David Copperfield. Oh, that's because General Motors.
Yes.
General Motors. All of General Motors could have. Let's just stick with that. All of General Motors could have a Smashup league.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's all
100%.
of General Motors. Yep.
I worked at Meta previously, and there were so many different leagues going on because there's just little pockets of 12-person leagues, 14-person leagues. We could have definitely used something like this at the time to have like a big league for the whole company for sure.
Yeah. So while I was telling that story, we got 2 downvotes on YouTube. So that's exactly what happens. That's what I deserve. We
need Copperfield's magic to reverse those.
I love these kinds of stories. We were talking about there was near me there was a lunch lady who got thrown in jail for seducing one of the students. So these things come up.
Wow.
These things come up on podcasts.
They come up during fantasy football discussion.
They always do. This fantasy football, a natural segue into lunch
That's
ladies.
a good team name. The lunch ladies.
And irresponsible magicians. Of course. So what have been some of the challenges You roll this app out, you're getting it out to people. What are some of the challenges?
So I would say, from our side, with any new company, it's really just getting our name out there. You're kind of starting from zero. A lot of folks, I think, already have, everyone has the leagues they already play, Yahoo, Sleeper, FanDuel, DraftKings, whatever it might be. And whenever you're new, getting people to try it is always a little bit of a challenge. I think when people end up playing it, I think they really like it and they kind of stick around. But kind of getting folks to try it for the first time, that initial inertia, I would say, is always is always a little bit challenging especially for new companies.
Yeah, and I think what we're trying to do, which is innovate the game a little bit, is part of the challenge, right? Like the game hasn't changed too much in the last 20, 25 years. Like Yahoo fantasy football looks the same as it did when I started playing 20-ish years ago. And so because it's been so similar to the way it's been played for so long, that adoption that Haibo was talking about is a little bit difficult of a challenge for people to overcome. Like you said, a lot of people have their own leagues, their platforms. Even if we feel like this is a very simple way to have a very fun twist on a game that we all already know, people are like, oh, what is that? It's new. I don't know if I want to try something new yet. I've got 6 leagues on 4 platforms right now. So that's the challenge. But we feel like if people just try it, they'll see it's actually very, very easy to play. I know you've checked it out, Matt, and it's really cool and fun. And it's not that different than what you're already playing today on DraftKings or Yahoo or Sleeper or whatever. It's just combining a lot of those elements in a different way.
Yeah, it's got a nice aesthetic. I can show you right here on the screen. So it's got sort of it's got a little bit of a 80s, 90s video game aesthetic with some of the characters, but then also it's got like the modern aesthetic of like the modern sort of little bit of, I want to say, like a Magic the Gathering, a little bit of like a Dungeons and Dragons vibe. But like the modern version, like the super new version of like the Final Fantasy video game type of thing, but in combination with you can see one of the cards here, the Hail Mary. I mean, dude, if a quarterback completes a throw of 50 yards or more, 30 extra points. That's amazing. That how much is that?
Truly a Hail Mary.
How much is that one?
I think that's 4,000 or 5,000 as well. So again, similarly priced because it's going to be a big part of your card budget. But if it hits, I mean,
well, can you stack? Could you get both the cards? Could you get the Hail Mary and the deep threat card, and then if you happen to have, and then some stack, if you happen to have, let's say, Tua and Tyreek Hill that week, then they would both hit, and then that would actually be 60 points.
You can absolutely stack, and
that sounds like a great strategy. I think I would do that strategy with this.
Yeah, especially for DFS tournaments or a weekly tournament style, like that is a great way to stack because, especially if you look at the defenses they're playing, that's a great way to actually approach it.
Yeah, Tank Dell. Do you have any cards that are like, hey, if a player who weighs under 100 pounds scores a touchdown?
That's a great card idea. Not yet, but
yeah.
Just don't have him block at the goal line, right?
Yeah, one of my favorite, sort of jokes that I had was, talking about how Tank Dell was 5'4". And then in the chat, every time, there's always somebody in the chat that had not heard me do this bit. Like, he's 5'7", he's not 5'4". It's amazing. It's like, yes, I understand that. No, I know he's not 120 pounds. I get it. It's a joke.
Yeah.
He's small, though. I've been next to him. This guy is amazing. But he's also going to be the most productive wide receiver on this Texans team. And yet he's the third one being drafted. I think that's week 1. I think Tank Dell is a great guy to put in your lineup on Smashup.
Yeah, I actually was going to say he's actually a great value because I think right now people are still trying to sort that wide receiver room out. So he's going to be a smash pick, especially at his price tag.
Smash pick. Smash
No
pick.
pun
Smash
intended.
pick. Okay. So I think I'll get you out of here. Thanks for talking about the game. I think this is something that everyone should be signing up for. When you sign up for Smashup, use code PlayerProfiler. So use PlayerProfiler when you sign up, and you get extra perks when you sign up. Little things that are a surprise, and that's what's kind of cool. Like there's just these elements of video game play, and video games are so popular, but bringing in some elements of video games into the fantasy football experience, I think, is one of the genius moves that you guys did, and why I want to kind of evangelize what you're doing. Any final words for people this heading into this football season?
Yeah, just one final plug. In addition to our league, as kind of we talked about earlier, we also have our just weekly tournaments. You don't need to necessarily sign up with a league. You can play individual weeks. We're completely free to play, so we never ask you for your credit card, bank information, anything like that. We are completely free to play, but you can win money. You can win some prizes if you do well. And we have our week-to-week tournaments. So yeah, if you want to, definitely encourage you to try it out, play our weekly tournaments, and yeah, come join us and play Smashup.
Thanks, fellas.
All right,
Thank
thanks
you.
a lot.
All right.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.